Now, Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has called on governments at all levels to resort to a coordinated plan of cities and growing urban centers in the country in order to meet the needs of its growing population. Osinbajo made the call on Thursday in his address at the Archibuild NIA Infodrac conference organized by the Nigerian Institute of Architecture in Abuja. He stressed the need to develop cities and urban centers that are habitable and sustainable with life. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, said government had created several innovative approaches to financing and developing infrastructure projects by raising funds and resources and deploying them in key areas of concern. We're now joined by Arise analyst Kayode Otitoju to consider the Vice President's remarks and how his suggestions could be implemented in a country where regional and urban planning has hardly been a coordinated exercise. It's great to have you. Good day.
Good day.
Right, let's get straight into it. What are your initial thoughts when you think of urbanization, town planning, urban planning in Nigeria to date?
Yeah, urbanization, town planning, and how far we've gone in Nigeria. Really, most of our cities or urban centers grew historically. Some could be attributed to the Borges theory of concentric zone, and some areas, like most of the findings of Mabugunje in 1970, it was, migration. It's in such a way that actually people tend to migrate towards the city center. And so the city center is where you have the CBD, but in the historical cities, those were, the palaces, the Emma's Palace, the Oba's Palace, and where we have the city market, or Jaoba, so to say. So he brought in some theories. And so when you are planning either urban renewal or you are planning infrastructure, you must take this theory into consideration. Concentric zone theory or the linear theory. And both of them derive from the von Tonem, who proposed something on urban development about a decade before Borges of 1929. So the Vice President is right because we have to make well-designed effort to take care of urban centers. Urban centers are city centers like Lagos. We may have up to 5 cities within Lagos that grew and got engulfed, by urban, development from the center to the periphery. So, what are the things we need to make the urban attractive? Health, education, security, all those things require facilities. And people move from rural areas to enjoy all this. And again, to enjoy higher income, money, because urban centers provide better employment. And so the Vice President is now saying, yes, we have to make the rural areas okay, the urban areas okay, and the linkage through transportation arteries, be it by road or by rail or by air. And this requires a lot of funding. And that was where the Minister of Finance really came in the discussion, talking of the Sukuk. They have issued almost 700 million Sukuk to finance specific project. The NSIA, that the MD has just left and another one is just appointed to take care of infrastructure. And again, the capital market is there too, where you can raise capital, so to finance projects.
Indeed. And one of the things that she also mentioned is, that the government has invested to fund projects in key sectors like, health, education, agriculture, financial. But when it comes to population growth, we have the highest growth rate in the world. And we also understand that we're the 7th most populous nation in the world. So I'm just wondering, we're talking about all these areas, but I'm wondering, what about the issue of family planning? Because in the end, we have really high birth rates. The average woman has 5.5 children. When I saw the 0.5, I was wondering, how do you make half a baby? But that was the estimation. So do you think that this growth rate, when it comes to, poor family planning in our end, is also contributing to this, how slow things are moving along, because it's not necessarily well managed? Do you think we might also need to focus on that area to be able to balance things out?
You are right, because population growth rate in Nigeria is put at 2.5 by 2025, whereas the average world growth rate is 0.83, not up to 1. Okay, so we are really far above average, and we are the way we are multiplying. The rate is not what really matters, but the increasing rate of increase of the rate. And this is so alarming. And so we have to plan well in the urban centers or in areas of higher socio-economic class. They know how to go about family planning, and it's really working. But in the rural areas, or again, apart from rural areas, the religion. Christians, one wife, maybe maximum 5 children. The Muslim, the religion allows you to marry as many as 4 wives if you have the means to take care. Okay? So really, the population growth rate in Muslim-dominated zone in urban area or in the rural areas is alarming. And unless there is a way through the mosque that we can talk, and through moral suasion, that is the only way we can achieve reduction in growth rate in such area based on religion. Okay? So you see, there is urban-rural dichotomy. Generally, in the rural areas, the rate of population growth is higher because they need much hands to work in the farm, okay, and to help in nearly everything. But in the urban centers, you come to work, unless your grandmom is staying with you, you get maybe a house help who takes care of nearly everything, okay? And so maybe in a flat of almost 75 square meters, okay, it's only 2 of you. In the urban areas or in the rural areas, you know, it's multitude. You get my point. So, how can government now force it down the throat of people to embark on family planning? Well, I think experience is the best master. People now know that actually, omabere, oshibere, that is, the more children you have, the more impoverished and pauperished you are. So people are now, taking concerted effort to minimize the number of children. Okay? Now, for instance, I have 5 children. My parent had over 10. Okay? But none of my children wants to have more than 2. So which means either we like it or not, we will soon get to the average rate of 0.83 of world average instead of our 2.5 average. So
Thank you.
I think that's one aspect of the conversation. The Vice President also mentioned innovation. Now, when you look at the facts, they say by 2037, the urban population in Nigeria's cities will have doubled. And to keep up with that growth, 700,000 housing units will need to be built every year. That number seems untenable for any government. But what are the other innovative ways that we can balance out? For example, I hate to use this reference because it was a horrible era in African history. But if you look at how colonial era cities were built, you can see an intentionality in planning and organization in how things were done. Post-colonial, we don't see as much intentionality. What is the innovation, in your opinion, that needs to be done for us to be able to have well-functioning, organized cities in spite of this boost in growth?
I think it's the other way around in developing countries. In developed countries, yes, the post-colonial, our own colonial end in 1960, am I right?
Yes.
The post-colonial, yes, they had urban, well-planned places, but it's after the Nigerian independence that we started having planted cities, okay? And I think a good example is Abuja. Abuja is a planted city, it's a planned city. When we say planted city, we mean it's a city that didn't evolve, radially from maybe a cultural center or the nucleus that was there traditionally, maybe because that's the seat of the Oba. But this one was planned and planted. So you have the roads, the streets, the gutters, the drainage, the whole section, and the normal land use plan for the urban centers. You have it there. Then you come to Lagos. Lagos embarked on massive new town development, which is under the New Town Development Authority. So by so doing, you have Lekki Scheme 1, with plans for about 5,000 plots.
Is it working?
It's working.
Is it working?
Lekki Phase 1.
Is it working?
That's where you want to live.
I'm just asking if it's working.
It's working because
in
the
your
drainage
opinion.
is there. Mm-hmm. In fact, it has the best drainage system.
Lekki Phase 1?
In Nigeria.
Well, I swam to work in the rain this morning, so I beg to differ.
Listen, Lekki Phase 1 is not the general Lekki.
Okay.
Lekki Phase 1 is the government scheme. And within the Lekki area, we have 3 government schemes. We have the Lekki Phase 1, we have a Abijo scheme, which is just developing, and Lekki Phase 2, which is opposite Taja. The Lekki Phase 1 is almost 85% developed in terms of habitation. And the drainage network is super. We have the primary drainage.
My experience is different.
We have about three primary drainage channels. Okay? One is parallel to Duro Simeti down to 5 cowries. Another one passes from the central mosque, passes through All Souls Church, Catholic Church of Divine Mercy, under the Admiralty Way and empty to the lagoon. And another one from Fola Oshibo through Kimabimbola down parallel to what's the name of this way now? It's a major way.
It's okay. Various areas
and
of
this
Lekki,
collects more water from the secondary drainage and the gutters and empty to the. So the runoff time, the average runoff time of water in Lekki is less than 30 minutes after rain. Okay? So there are concerted efforts to create cities, urban centers that are serviced, that don't need to be renewed as urban renewal, breaking houses in order to make way for roads and whatever. So it's still doable because most of the old cities have been turned to urban centers because of creation of states. The state capitals, nearly all state capitals now are flyover. I could remember when Kayode was creating the roads in Ekiti. It takes someone like Kayode to do that because he stepped on toes, but he made sure that he paid compensation to people. It's not easy to modernize old city to become new urban centers.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Arise News analyst, Mr. Kayode Otitoju. Thank you so much.